All right. Thank you, new applicants, for joining us. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Elliot Morgan. I am the Med-Peds Chief Resident here currently for the year of 2021 to 2022. And I'm here with the Categorical Program Directors, Dr. Tom Gearan and Dr. Brian Youth, from internal medicine and pediatrics, respectively. And we'll hear a little bit from them about how we are integrated into their programs. And so I think we can just kind of start it off. Dr. Gearan, I'll throw it over to you just about kind of what your experience thus far has been just working with some of the Med-Peds residents.
Yeah, well, welcome everybody, and we're excited that you're taking a look at us at Maine Med. We think we have 3 great programs to offer you. But what I would say, and I think Dr. Youth agrees, is we really view the Med-Peds residents as part of our program. We really integrate you as much as we can into everything that we do, but we really view you all as part of our program and put kind of the same expectations and responsibilities on you. And I think because of that, historically over the years, the Med-Peds residents have been kind of a great addition to our program and a group that really complement our categorical residents in that they bring a unique perspective to the program and bring some great ideas from their own program and the Peds program. So it's always been a real bonus for our program.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The other thing I think is really key to mention is the Med-Peds residents get the same leadership opportunities in both programs, the same mentorship opportunities. There's plenty of times that our faculty may not even realize that one of the senior level residents is actually Med-Peds because they're so integrated into each of the categorical programs. But lots of guidance. If Med-Peds residents are interested in PICU or Peds cardiology, they're going to get the same mentorship, the same opportunities for research, the same kind of help with goal settings from our faculty as the categorical residents. So it's fantastic to have all 3 programs represented that way.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And I know, on internal medicine, we've had, growth. I know our anesthesia program is looking to grow, so that's bringing in additional prelims. Our neurology program is now up and going in its 2nd year. So we get to now work with a number of different residents. And then on the Peds side too, with the Med-Peds folks now being at full strength with 4 residents each year, and the Peds side having 6 residents, we do make up a fairly large chunk of that resident pool. And so it's nice to basically be valued as a pediatric resident when we're on that service, as well as when we're just out in the community. So we appreciate being integrated so nicely. Dr. Gearan, with some of the unique opportunities, you can speak to kind of some of the cool things with rural opportunities and stuff like that some of the categorical residents have, and maybe what some of the Med-Peds residents might also have access to of coming here.
Yeah, I think that's one of the real attractive features of Maine Medical Center is we're a very unique medical center in that we are a big urban academic tertiary care hospital that also functions as a community hospital for the greater Portland area, but also we serve the entire state and part of New Hampshire as well. So we are part of a system, Maine Health, which I think is the other great opportunity, is that you have an opportunity in our system to train at a 600-bed tertiary center. We have 2 or 3 150-bed community hospitals, and then all the way down to multiple 25-bed critical access hospitals in our rural communities. So, all of our residents do rural rotations, so everybody has the opportunity to do that. We also have a great connection with the VA system in Maine, which is another opportunity. A number of opportunities in the community of Portland, Preble Street Learning Collaborative in particular, which is a great opportunity to engage with our homeless population here in Portland. So I think we really give you the chance to get a lot of experiences at Maine Medical Center, but also out in our community of Portland and our entire state.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of those comments Tom made. With pediatrics, our residents, and this includes the Med-Peds residents, can do a global health local immersion elective in the community. Our residents also do a number of rotations in rural sites, and the Med-Peds program has its own actually unique rural sites that have Med-Peds trained faculty, but the Med-Peds residents are also eligible to spend time on the rural rotations throughout the different Maine Health hospitals that are as part of pediatrics as well.
Excellent. Yeah, and I just want to comment that those opportunities here as Med-Peds, we are open to do. So we rotate through STD clinic, we rotate through the Learning Collaborative, the VA. There's an outpatient clinic here that's undergoing expansive growth right now. It's a beautiful, beautiful building right down the Casco Bay. There are some of the IM residents who actually have their primary care clinics there, and we as the Med-Peds residents also get to rotate through there, which I imagine will probably be increasing with their growth. And similarly, the rural opportunities, ample in the pediatric world. I got to rotate from an internal medicine standpoint up at Mount Desert Island last year, even during COVID, which was fantastic. And that was just one of the most rewarding medical opportunities, as well as just incredible to be up in Bar Harbor in the spring and October time. So that was beautiful. And I'd recommend doing all of those. And those are easily opportunities that we as Med-Peds residents have. I wanted to talk a little bit just because we are currently switching our clinic schedule this is the first year we've been doing an X+Y schedule. And so for some of the applicants, what that means is during the X blocks, we're concentrating more on kind of our inpatient care. And then during the Y blocks is when we have more dedicated continuity care or ambulatory care. And what that does is it involves, in that way, we're not stealing away from inpatient rotations. We're dedicated while we're in there. We're not leaving for half-day clinics and leaving kind of some of our colleagues stranded on the inpatient side. And so it's really, when you're inpatient, you're inpatient. When you're in clinic, you're in clinic. The internal medicine side has been doing this, and we are kind of the guinea pig with the Med-Peds, with the hopes of pediatrics also making the transition next year. And so Dr. Gearan, if you can talk about kind of the benefits of that program, and then Dr. Youth about kind of the excitement of what that program may bring to you guys.
Yeah, so I actually look back. We've been doing in our case, the 4+2 version of the X+Y schedule since 2014. So it's been, we have a good 6-7 years of experience with it. And the residents it's kind of really been uniformly one of the few things we've done that I think all residents really have agreed that is like a great change. So it's worked really well in our program. I think it allows you to focus on in both, when you're inpatient, you can really focus on that. When you're outpatient, you can really focus on that. And it's clearly been a benefit from a wellness standpoint, I think, we kind of joke, with it gives you kind of the systole on your inpatient rotations and then the diastole when you're on your ambulatory, so that from a wellness standpoint, it really, really helps. So it's really worked well in our program. And, when we made the change, actually back in 2014, we had a lot of discussion with the Med-Peds program, and they kind of did a very thoughtful analysis then of whether it would work at that time, and ultimately it did not, but here we are now revisiting. So I think it's actually a good example of how the three programs work together and collaborate. We share ideas, and sometimes we adopt each other's ideas, and other times they may not exactly work for each individual program, but I think it's a good example of the communication and collaboration that the three programs do share.
Yeah, for pediatrics, we are so psyched to be at the point where we can finally consider doing this. I think that some of the issues in the past were the Med-Peds RRC and the pediatric RRC and continuity clinic expectations and all that. And to make a long story short, over time, the ACGME has been a lot more flexible with programs to innovate like this. And so while medicine has done this, pediatrics and now Med-Peds this year has started it. Pediatrics this year, we pulled continuity clinics out of the inpatient experiences a little bit, made it one full day instead of a half day each week, trying to kind of do these baby steps with our goal this year of transitioning our schedules fully by July 1st to an X+Y system. So very excited about it. We actually have a work group that's met a couple of times already looking at some templates. The residents are excited about it. And I think the key point for applicants to think about is, as Tom mentioned, this is an example of we meet, we talk, we get together with ideas that are happening in each program. Sometimes they work right away, sometimes they don't, but the key is that we communicate about them and we consider, how does this change impact the residents in the other programs that we're closely affiliated with. So we're looking forward to actually getting some expertise from the medicine side as well for your 6 years of experience, or 7 years of experience now, Tom. That's crazy, it's been that long. So yeah, we'll be moving to that next July.
Excellent. I will say, rotating my very first month, July for this year when I was on Peds, being on the inpatient pediatric unit, being able to be there every day and not being pulled off to clinic was especially helpful, especially during July where we have new interns. And as I'm sure you guys are aware of, just kind of one of the more historical respiratory years we've had over on the Peds side, even just during these summer and fall months. So it's been very nice to be ingrained in the inpatient unit and helpful for all my colleagues. Kind of talking a little bit too about taking examples from others. I know I'm on one of the educational committees. We are working right now to kind of maybe revamp a little bit of the Friday conference, which is the IM Didactic. And I know we do that on Friday afternoons on medicine, and we do it on Thursday mornings on pediatrics. And me and some of the other Med-Peds residents are involved in those committees to try and kind of introduce positive changes. And I just didn't know if either Dr. Gearan or Dr. Youth could just comment a little bit on what our roles in some of those committees are and how we may benefit from having Med-Peds involvement.
Yeah, I think, anytime we, I guess I would say one of my philosophies, hopefully as a program director, is I think we try to have a program that's not afraid to change, and, we'll try things 5 years ago. And I think we're okay with that. And I think we're, times change, medicine changes, accreditation requirements change. So I think you want to look for a program that is willing to change. And part of change is really listening to your residents. And in our case, listening to, my own residents, but also the Med-Peds residents as well. And this has been a great exercise in talking about our conference format, which we've been using for 10 years. And a lot has changed in those 10 years. And I think some of the reasons we made the decision to do a Friday afternoon conference back in 2011, when we made that change, have evolved now. So the Med-Peds residents have been super valuable to us because they bring the perspective of the Peds program and kind of how they do things. So it's been great. We've had kind of a series of focus groups, and then also at our resident retreat, we got some great input from all the residents. So I think it's another great example of we have the benefit of getting ideas from these two additional programs to give another perspective to us. So so we haven't made a final decision what we're going to do yet, but I think it's hopefully as an applicant you want to look at a program that's willing to listen to their residents and is willing to make changes when they think the time has come.
Yeah, I'll just add to that by saying that for Peds, and I'm pretty sure this is true in medicine as well, all curricular changes, programmatic changes, new initiatives that come up, they all get vetted through like education evaluation committees, resident forums, departmental forums, what have you. And for our program, of course, there's pediatric representation on all these committees. There's also Med-Peds representation on all these committees. So we might have our education committee that has a rep from each of the years of pediatrics on that committee to really be able to say, hey, how does this impact interns? How does this impact seniors? We also have a couple of Med-Peds residents that are on those committees as well, because they can help, bridge that gap. How does this impact us as a Med-Peds learner? We'll have faculty that work with medical students on those committees, because anything that we do also impacts our medical students. So there's a lot of conversation that happens whenever change is considered in a program. And it's not to the point where it holds up progress at all. It's more just to make sure that we talk to all the stakeholders and consider all the different players when new innovations come up.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I was muted. For all the applicants who weren't aware, we are involved in those committees. We also get to go to all of the retreats, the internal medicine intern, as well as senior retreats, as well as the pediatric retreat. And our ideas are valued for recruitment processes, educational processes. We are integrated just as if we were categorical residents, which has been great. One thing also I wanted to point out, which is wonderful, is that this year, so we have our IM chiefs, there's two IM chiefs. I am the Med-Peds chief, and our current pediatric chief resident is actually a Med-Peds resident, Erica Haidu, who just completed last year. And so there's been a nice kind of dynamic, again, bringing some of those ideas from medicine over to pediatrics. And actually next year, one of my co-residents, Dr. Prajapati, will become one of the internal medicine chiefs. So we have a lot of role, those chief opportunities on the categorical side are available. And it's a good way to kind of introduce some of those ideas to the opposing side. So it's been really nice to have that representation and have our voices be heard. And then the last point I just wanted to bring up, and then we can close out, is just how internal medicine and pediatrics have used some of our residents as an advantage. And I wanted to point out something specifically is because our internship is 16 months, so that first 4 months of the second year will also be considered an internship. That's why you get 8 months on each side. And during that time, so at the start of the year, it can be obviously a daunting process, July 1st. And on our night rotations on internal medicine side, we have our general medicine side, as well as our CAT team, which is the kind of cardiac ICU, cardiac floor, our kidney transplant, and our oncology service. And it's usually on each of those services, there's one intern and one senior. And what they'll often do is pair third year Med-Peds residents as seniors with what we call super turns. So the second year still interns for their interns. And so that way, the start of the year is a bit safer for everyone involved, including patients as well as providers. And so that's been a really wonderful opportunity. And similarly, when we become seniors, it's kind of later into our second year when some of those new interns are making their first switch from either medicine to peds or peds to medicine. And I particularly was matched with one of those switches, which was nice for me for my first senior block and beneficial for that new intern who was essentially starting residency again on the opposite side in October, which can be rather daunting. So if Dr. Gearan or Dr. Youth, you have any other comments about how you guys have used Med-Peds residents strategically, that would be great. If any other examples you can think of aside from what I mentioned.
No, I think that's a great example, is just trying to, trying to find good opportunities where we can kind of maximize the skill set of the Med-Peds resident. Sometimes that just has to do with, the broader exposure they get to adolescent illnesses than we do in internal medicine. So that comes up routinely in teaching conferences, but also on, on just the clinical teaching on the wards also. So I think we really value that additional skill set and perspective that the Med-Peds residents have, both kind of in our educational conferences, and I think it in terms of the leadership abilities too.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's wonderful in July and August and September where we have, as Elliot said, the super interns, the Med-Peds folks that have already been through a full year of training, though it might have only been 4 months of pediatrics, on the wards and in the position to be able to kind of help guide some of the new interns, which is great. And I'll tell you, every time we talk about like a teenager with chest pain, and we have Med-Peds residents in the audience that can bring up, when do you think about a PE? When do you think about a DVT? Those kinds of things. It's like we don't think about that stuff in pediatrics that much. So it's great to get the educational benefit of Med-Peds residents, on a daily educational basis as well.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, Dr. Gearan, Dr. Youth, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Just wanted to give our incoming applicants a little taste of what Med-Peds is like and how we're kind of valued and treated as categorical residents when we're on each side. So thank you guys very much for your time, and applicants, we look forward to meeting you during this recruitment season.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck, guys.